Sorry, folks. Can everybody see the screen? There we go. It was not advancing for me. So just a brief overview, the Metropolitan Housing Coalition is made up of more than 300 individual and organizational members who are interested in advocating for fair, accessible, and affordable housing in the Louisville Metro service area. And last year in April, the Metropolitan Housing Coalition launched their new program called EveryHome, which is dedicated to bridging the gap between housing affordability and energy affordability. And we do this through education and outreach. And yes, Tony, that is one cute kid. That's Tony's son right there. He is a cutie. So today we're just going to be talking a bit about what energy burdens and affordable energy is, how that connects to housing, the effects that energy burdens have on us, and what we can do about that, and some policy recommendations at the end. If anybody has any questions, just feel free to put them in the chat. We will also have a Q&A session at the end of the presentation. So just to go over what energy affordability is, it is the ability to warm and cool your home, to have working lights, to have hot and cold water, breathable air, and a home that's free of water damage and mold that is affordable. So a rule of thumb that we always follow is that you never want to pay more than 6% of your income, your monthly income, on utility bills. If you are spending more than 6%, you are considered energy cost burdened. And if you are paying more than 10%, you are considered severely energy cost burdened. And what this looks like here in the US is that about 1 in 4 American households are spending more than 6% each month on their utility bill. That does sound like a pretty big number, 25%, but as we get smaller down into Louisville, it grows. So the southeast portion of the United States is one of the most energy burdened areas in all of the nation. About 38% of households within the southeast region of the US are considered energy burdened. And in Louisville alone, about 67% of our low income households are spending more than 10% of their monthly utility bill. They're 10% of their monthly bill on energy, which it's a staggering difference, more than 50%. But they're also felt disproportionately. A lot of low-income households, people of color, and older adult households and renters have more rates of energy burdens than they do in the rest of Louisville. So it's felt disproportionately throughout the county. And there's 4 ways that our energy burdens are felt. Our energy can be affected by a multitude of factors, but the 4 I want to focus on today is geographic location, housing characteristics, socioeconomic situation, and energy prices and policies. So first, I just want to say that geographic location is one of the biggest indicators for your energy bill pricing. Your geographic location can determine energy usage trends. If you are living in a high density area, if you're a renter, everybody is coming home from work. They're turning on, at 5 o'clock, they're turning on the TV. They're starting to cook. They're starting, kids are doing their homework on the computer. So those high energy usage areas where you have so many people in one area, they're going to be using a lot of electricity. And a lot of these areas are kind of concentrated to redlined areas, which redlining, as many of you know, is a very discriminatory practice from the 1930s that kind of designated neighborhoods into desirability. A lot of the low-income areas that we see today are similar to the least desirable areas that were redlined in the 1930s. And so these areas, they have a high percentage of renters. And when you're, renting your apartment, you're going to not have as much control over, what that energy bill looks like in terms of, people coming out and checking the meter, which they should be more than once a month. It also depends on climate. So let's say you're focused toward, Western Louisville. As you can see in this map, all of these red and yellow areas, this is an urban heat island map. So there's less tree coverage, there's a lot of concrete, a lot of pavement, and that kind of reflects and absorbs the heat from the sun, which can make the outdoors inner city kind of area feel a lot warmer than it actually is in, say, East Louisville. So to cope with the heat index, a lot of people will turn up their thermostats, and that can cause, a lot of undue energy pricing on your bill. It also kind of comes down to the building envelope as well. So in Louisville, the majority of our homes were built pre-1960. And there's something within a home called a building envelope, and that separates the outside of the house and the inside of the house. So it's how tight your doors are, how tight your windows are, if there's any drafts, how the pipes are situated. It depends on the type and age of the building that you're living in, and that can eventually affect your energy bill. If you are, living in an older home and it's very drafty, your heat is going to be escaping through the cracks in the doors and the windows. And to cope with that energy loss, you're going to be turning up the thermostat even more. And that can add additional energy pricing to your bill at the end of the month. A lot of homes in Louisville are concentrated, that are built pre-1960, are concentrated toward the west end of Louisville. As you can see in this map right here, this very dark area, that is the percentage of homes that were built pre-1960, which ranges all the way up to 94%. About 72% of homes in Louisville have a poor building envelope. So that is a lot of homes that are having, draft issues. They're having issues with, leaking pipes that are adding to their water bill. It's harder to heat and cool. And eventually, if you're living in one of these older homes, you're going to have a higher energy bill. Your socioeconomic situation can also affect your energy cost, and mainly that's due to geographic location and housing characteristics. Like I mentioned, a lot of the houses that were built pre-1960 and houses that are living in, urban heat islands, they're concentrated to west northwest Louisville. And those areas are highly energy burdened. And if you're energy burdened, you have about a 200% chance of remaining in poverty. And it creates this vicious cycle of, trying to keep up with your energy bill and not having enough. And so you have threat of disconnection, which we'll talk about later. And so it just creates this negative feedback loop. Also, I know a lot of you know the difference between, West End and East End of Louisville, and the percentage of homes that are, that contain multifamily housing units, BIPOC communities, elderly communities, disabled communities. The percentage of homes with those are highest in West Louisville, and they're concentrated to these red line neighborhoods. So it just furthers that statement that if you are energy burdened, you have a higher chance of remaining in poverty. Of course, the price of energy can also affect how expensive your bills are, as well as the policies that are in place. You know, I know energy bills are very, very expensive right now. However, there are many programs that are focused on trying to, provide some type of bill payment assistance, which there was a study that showed that about 80% of energy programs are bill payment assistance, whereas 15% are actually working on energy efficiency programs. I see as, bill payment assistance, it's, highly needed. However, it's also kind of like a band-aid to the problem of, just providing more money instead of, working on different programs such as demand side management, which provides energy efficiency programs, and other programs in place to make sure that, such as weatherization, to make sure that your home has a strong building envelope and is not leaking energy. Also, if a utility company is forecasting more load growth, if they're saying that energy is going to increase over the next few years, which we'll also get into a little bit later, that is also going to require more power plants. And the people who pay for those power plants are the ratepayers. So with more forecasted load growth, whether that be for, construction of new data centers or, just overall needing more energy, the ratepayers' rate is going to increase, and that can make our energy bills more expensive. So I was talking about this negative feedback loop of, if you're energy burdened, you have a 200% chance of living in poverty. So that also kind of plays into disconnections a bit. A lot of people have trouble, being able to make ends meet and pay their energy bill, and they are at risk of being shut off by the utility provider. So utility shutoffs, they affect our most vulnerable communities, our BIPOC, our low-income populations, especially during extreme weather. The Metropolitan Housing Coalition has been working for the past few years on disconnection protections, which essentially is meaning that making a pact with the utility companies to say that, you're not going to shut off people for non-payment during, extremely hot or extremely cold weather, because that can affect our health. We're still working on that. Hopefully we can get some answers soon, but I do know that for Eastern Kentucky, there was a case that was worked on where 17 counties in Eastern Kentucky were able to get those protections. So it's just making sure that the rest of Kentucky will be able to have that. But the bottom line here is that utility companies are not affected by disconnection and reconnection fees. There was a study that showed that utility companies could have paid off all disconnection, late fees, reconnection fees with less than 1% of their dividends. So it's more of just a slap on the wrist for people who are, trying to pay their energy bill, and, it eventually doesn't. Sorry. But, those same fees, they cause a huge burden for Kentuckians who are faced with paying them. So how do energy burdens affect us? They can affect us physically, not only just our pocket. So poor building envelopes and energy insecurity, they can lead to health issues such as carbon monoxide poisoning, lead exposure for all of those old houses that were, built when lead was, very popular to use in the home. If you have leaky pipes, that can cause asthma or COPD from air pollutants and things like mold. It can also cause, with disconnections during hot and cold weather, hypothermia or heat stress. And compounding all of the stress with trying to pay your bill, as well as the health aspect of it, this can cause a lot of anxiety and depression as well. There's something that we see a lot called the heat, eat, or treat dilemma, which is trying to figure out, do I want to heat my home, or do I want to cut money from, my groceries? Maybe I cut a meal here or there. Maybe I don't fill my medication. And people will try to do anything that they can to be able to keep their energy on. And so it just, keeps that negative feedback loop continuing. There's also environmental justice issues with this as well. So a lot of these redlined areas, they're considered, low income areas. They're considered quote unquote less desirable. And so a lot of corporations will purchase this land for cheap and build factories on them and create a lot of toxic air pollutants and different things that people with poor building envelopes, they're experiencing the effects of this because it's getting into their home and making them sick. So my question, I'm going to show you a couple of maps, and I'd like to know what you all think, who is most affected by energy burdens and negative health outcomes. So this first map is my executive director, Tony's favorite map. Not for good reason, but it just shows, how stark the difference is. This is life expectancy in Louisville Metro. As you can see, toward the east end of Louisville, life expectancy is anywhere from 78 to 82 years of age. Whereas in Northwest Louisville, you have life expectancy from 69 to 71. That is almost a 10-year difference right there. Just goes to show that, these areas that are, living in older homes that are redlined, that have, high energy burdens, it's all affecting our health and taking years off of our lives. This also shows asthma and lead poisoning cases, which also are concentrated to Northwest Louisville. A lot of these areas, like I said, they have a poor building envelope, so they're going to have, asthma-related issues, whether that's from pollutants in the air, like I was talking about with environmental justice, pollutants getting into the home, lead poisoning. A lot of those homes in the area are built pre-1960, and so they have a lot of lead left over in the house, and that can cause a lot of developmental issues, especially for children and the elderly. Cancer and heart disease. Again, you see that higher rates of death for cancer and heart disease is concentrated to Western Louisville. And I can't say, exactly the cause of cancer and heart disease here, but I can say that these areas are also areas in which, it's hard to find housing. It's hard to find, a stable house that has a stable building envelope. And being in poverty, it creates such a negative feedback loop that, it makes people sick. So how does this relate to housing? Utility and housing go hand in hand. You cannot have affordable housing without having affordable utilities. You may be able to find the perfect house, but once you get into it, you find out you have another mortgage through the price of your energy bill at the end of the day. So it's important that we have affordable energy to make housing affordable. So what does housing look like currently in Louisville? The majority of it, as you can see by this chart right here, this map, it's overwhelmingly blue. And this is single family detached housing. So these are, our homes in our suburbs. About 65% of all of the available housing in Louisville is single family detached, whereas there are 28% multifamily units. Another rule of thumb, just like you don't want to pay more than 6% of your income on utility bills, you also don't want to pay more than 30% of your income on rent or mortgage. For our renter households, that 28% of multifamily units, those who are renting, about 46% of them are spending more than 30% of their monthly income on rent. So that is already putting them within that poverty level. When it comes to home ownership, there's also a racial disparity. So if you are making the area median income, which I believe is about $89,000 for Louisville, if you are, considered white or Caucasian, out of your entire population in Louisville, about 76% own their own home, whereas 54% of the Black population own their own home. And so there is a huge racial disparity here within home ownership, and it's the availability of homes and where people can, find their forever home. Housing has also increased. So this chart right here shows the difference between single family home pricing from September 2020 to September 2024. As you can see, the average monthly mortgage of a home has increased about 74%, which adds an extra $8,000 every single year to your yearly living expenses. However, income has dropped about 8% since 2019. So homes are getting more expensive and income is dropping, and that leaves a lot less choice for people to find their home. So what can we do to fix this? I know this was a lot of doom and gloom, but there is hope. First, I want to talk a little bit about who governs our utility companies. So if you're living in Louisville, most likely you're an LG&E customer. And the Public Service Commission, which is a governing body out of Frankfurt with 3 commissioners, they govern all of the providers and distributors in the state. So they hear cases such as, rate increases or reductions, consumer complaints, demand side management, those energy efficiency programs I was talking about, and much more. The Metropolitan Housing Coalition is considered a joint intervener on many of these cases at the Public Service Commission on behalf of low and fixed income communities. We're currently intervening on a Public Service Commission case through LG&E. They just filed their Integrated Resource Plan, IRP, which they submit every 3 years, and it's a 15-year plan of what they plan to do, including load growth, demand side management. And so we're currently intervening on that just on behalf of low and fixed income families to make sure that energy for the next 15 years remains affordable. So these are what policies MHC believes state and utilities need to ensure for affordability. So the first is that utilities should include an affordability component in all PSC proceedings. We need to make sure that affordability is at the center of every single case and that they consider our low income ratepayers who are using their electricity. 2, we need data such as usage or disconnections that show low income communities are the most energy burdened despite using the least amount of energy. MHC has been trying to get data from LG&E and KU for a while just to state, this is where the most energy burdened people are. And we believe that this data can be utilized to target these areas and make sure that people are getting bill payment assistance and energy efficiency upgrades. 3, we should have targeted holistic approaches to efficiency and affordability, including weatherization and demand side management programs. We need to make sure that we hold utilities accountable for being cost effective so that they're not just relying on bill assistance and environmental and energy efficiency programs. So like I was stating earlier, it is kind of a Band-Aid fix, and we need to go to the root of the problem just to make sure that affordability is at the center of everything that they rule on at the Public Service Commission. 4, we need to include stakeholders within this conversation. So it's people like you, community leaders, renters, advocates. Energy burdens have a narrative, and we want to move this narrative forward. We need voices like yours to demand that we need more affordable energy so that we can have more affordable housing. However, there are a couple of policies and programs that Louisville has already in place. And one of the things that we do here at EveryHome is make sure that people have access to this information. And, if they're looking for bill assistance or energy efficiency of programs, you can always go on our website to see a list of these programs with a link directly to the application. We have weatherization and assistance programs through the Weatherization Assistance Program through the Kentucky Housing Corporation, or the Blitz through Project Warm. LG&E has their We Care program that does demand-side management as well as bill payment assistance, as well as the community ministries that are located all throughout Louisville. If people are interested in solar, there's a Solarize program through Louisville Metro Government. They also have a cool roof program. So if you're living in a urban heat island and, you know, that sun is just, you know, heating up your house, hitting your roof, you can apply for a cool roof through their program. The lead ordinance of 2022 is a great program. It is a rental registry that puts together a list of properties that have possible lead within them if they're built pre-1960. And it ensures that before anybody lives within the property, that lead is abated, or, you know, they are subject to fines. However, there is a House Bill, House Bill 173, that is currently seeking to get rid of all rental registries within Kentucky, and this would effectively abolish the lead ordinance program. So if you'd like to learn more information about that, you can go to our website just to see what you can do about it and how to get involved. And we'll have our website at the end, but that's metropolitanhousing.org. Inflation Reduction Act funds is something that we have been working on for a while. We originally were, I think the state of Kentucky was going to submit in early 2025. However, with our new administration, those funds are currently on hold. And once we have more information about that, we'll be sure to reach out and update you all. So what is MHC going to do from here? We're going to continue our public education through webinars, through outreach, through tabling. We're going to expand our networks. There's many other organizations that are doing great work that is very similar within the housing and energy sectors, and we want to partner with them and bring, you know, more educational programs. So we, you know, seek to expand our network in that way.
Not
And we
tracking it.
also plan
I
to
told her, I was like,
improve.
Kathy, I said, I manage the housing.
Oh, we also plan to improve policies, whether that's through intervening on behalf of low and fixed income communities during Public Service Commission cases, or working on different subjects such as, you know, updating our building codes, making sure that people have energy efficient housing. We're also working on zoning ordinances through the Metro Housing. We believe that everybody has a right to choose where they want to live. And then IRA funding, we are still waiting to hear back on word if those funds are unfrozen. Nope. Moving forward. There we go. So what can you do from here? First thing, get informed. Check out our website. We have plenty of infographics and information on there, and programs that can assist in making your energy and thus your housing more affordable. You can also submit a comment to the Public Service Commission if you feel so inclined. We have information on our website on how to do that, and we will be hosting a webinar in May that also goes over a little bit more in depth about the Public Service Commission and how to submit public comments. Contact your state representatives and senators and just tell them we need more affordable housing and to approve policies that are related to affordable utilities and housing. Also tell a friend. We have plenty of great information, and something that I find is that when I talk to folks about affordable energy and housing, they always state that, you know, I never really thought of those two going together. So just tell a friend and spread the word. You can also further our work by donating to the Metropolitan Housing Coalition and joining our coalition. So there's many things that you can do just to move this work forward. But again, thank you all so much for joining today and learning a little bit more about how affordable housing and energy connects. We have our websites here. It has plenty of great information on it, as well as infographics and external resources. So We, hope you stay in contact and join our future webinars. We have them on the fourth Tuesday of every month from 1 to 2, and we sometimes have guest speakers. But now I'm going to open it to Q&A if anybody has any questions. Let me stop